By the way, I just have to say, you are the most generous friend. You show up for your friends. Today, I just get to talk about you, which I'm excited about.
This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. We are seriously dealing with a spiritual war and are fighting against the devil and this demon witch we are calling Meghan Markle. Today, I am reluctantly diving into the April 28th, 2025 episode of Kern Lima's podcast featuring none other than witch woman Meghan Markle. Yes, it's her again. If you're already rolling your eyes, trust me, I am right there with you. No surprises, this broadcast was a showcase in narcissism and a calculated performance dressed up in this cloth that she wants us to believe is authentic. But right now, I think it's just appropriate to tear it apart, so let's just get into it. First off, let's set the stage. Kern Lima, billionaire co-founder of IT Cosmetics, decides to give Meghan Markle a platform for what's billed as a raw, makeup-free, sweatpants-clad heart-to-heart. Sounds relatable, right? Wrong. From the second this thing starts, Jamie makes it clear that this is Meghan's show, and Jamie's just the prop holding the mic, asking questions that allegedly Meghan didn't know she was going to be asked. Okay, where have we heard that before?
That there has not been an agreement. You don't know what I'm going to ask.
No.
And there is no subject that's off limits.
Yeah.
And you are not getting paid for this interview.
All of that's correct. This entire episode, over an hour of my life that I will never get back, is literally Meghan clapping back to everything that's being said online and in the media. From her struggles to her kids to the oh-so-perfect love story she has with Harry. I mean, it's truly exhausting. And I'm not going to lie, I did feel a bit triggered yesterday that I didn't even want to talk about it. I was annoyed, and today I'm still annoyed. And I feel gaslit by this relentless need to shove Meghan's face in ours every single day. I mean, can't we just have one day without her? One? This is like a daily haze of relentless propaganda that has been going on for the past 7 years. This week, though, is a doubleheader of Meghan with yesterday and today and that stupid flounder podcast. Like, I can't even listen to her voice anymore. I promise that I will be sparing in this video, only using certain sound bites to make a point. Now, from what I see, the timing was definitely calculated to drop to keep Meghan's name in the headlines and get people to listen to today's flounder podcast because it featured Kern Lima. I do think that they were attempting to try and turn the abysmal reviews around, but I think it's just made it worse. People are so sick to death of Meghan Markle that I do think that this all backfired. Let us break down the narcissism on display. Meghan sits there, supposedly barefaced, talking about how she's the happiest she's ever been. Great. But why does every sentence feel like it's scripted to make us worship her? She's not sharing. All she's doing here is performing. The no makeup, come on, completely scripted because she knew that she was going to start crying. I mean, we're dealing with an actress, a bad one nonetheless, but still an actress. This is what they do. They perform. It was really telling, though, how Meghan really feels about these children. Even though she's trying to make the world believe that she is this doting and caring mother, we see little mask slips of her showing this disdain and this disconnect that she has with these so-called children. And you can tell that Meghan particularly doesn't care for the little girl, especially when Kern Lima asks her this question.
When Lily grows up, what are your hopes that she would share and say about her mother?
Did y'all see how Meghan's face shifted, almost as if she got nervous when this question was asked? Watch it again.
When Lily grows up,
what are your hopes?
Keep in mind that Meghan is a super feminist, so when Kern Lima is asking her about what does she hope Lily will say about her when she grows up, you would think Meghan would jump on that and take the cue to go on about how she envisions Lily growing up to be this strong, independent woman. But here's what she had to say. Pay attention to the amount of time that she takes to think of something.
Oh, what a great question. I hope she says, I know that they'll feel like, oh my gosh, no one has ever loved someone more than the way our mom loved us.
That, my friends, was a word salad. When you look at the actual words, she makes absolutely no sense, and she doesn't even answer the question. Meghan begins by saying, I hope she says, and then puts in, I know that they will feel. Well, we were talking about Lily. We weren't talking about Archie. So are we to assume that she's referencing Lily when she says they? And then she goes on to say, like, oh my gosh, no one has ever loved someone more than the way our mom loved us. Is it just me, or does this feel really generic? Like you would think because Jamie Kern Lima didn't ask about Archie, like she could have positioned that question a bit differently by saying, well, what do you think your kids would say when they grow up about their mom? Then this would make sense. But she specifically asked about Lily because Meghan is a feminist. Anyway, she continues on to ramble about this now.
And I put that in practice, that's part of every day how I show up for them. And I read a lot of parenting books. I really want to be good at it.
Again, she's not addressing anything specific to Lily. She's just saying, I really want to show up for them. The question was about Lily. Like, how is Meghan really showing up for these children? Like, honestly, you think school drop-offs is enough? Like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing Meghan and these stupid school drop-offs and going and getting milkshakes. Here we are. Meghan could easily talk about how she is spending time with Lily and getting to know her and supporting her and being encouraging so she can be the best woman that she can be when she grows up. But none of that. You're sitting there and reading parents' books. Nobody believes that. And what is really noticeable throughout this whole podcast is that Meghan cannot look Jamie in the eye when she's telling these fabrications. So you know that she's lying through her teeth.
But one of our mom friends, she had said to me last year that she just created sort of secret email addresses for her kids that she'll give to them at some point in their life. And she would just send to them, random pictures, the pictures that you aren't going to put in a frame.
Yeah.
Now watch Meghan begin to lie. She can't look Jamie in the face as she comes up with this fantasy story.
I thought it was such a great time capsule to create for them because I used to love scrapbooks and photo albums, but we're past that generation now. And so I'd created for the kids these email addresses that sort of like names again that you would never guess that I will give them at some point in their lives when they're older. But before I go to bed almost every night, I email them.
Wow.
I email because it doesn't have to be a heavy lift, and you email them like, here's your report card from today, or oh my gosh, you said the funniest thing this morning, or here's a picture of you two having breakfast, or here's you playing with the dog. The things that you're not going to frame, the things that you're not going to put pen to paper in a journal, but they will end up at one point in their life, maybe when they're 16 or when they're 18, that I say, here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
For your whole life.
You can almost guarantee here that what Meghan is saying here is a lie. Keep in mind that Meghan hasn't answered the question about Lily.
And here's everything and every moment that I wanted to tell you how much I love you and like how proud I am of you. And of all things that's making me emotional. For them to be able to look back and go, oh my gosh, she has loved us so much.
You notice Meghan still hasn't answered the question. I believe that Meghan completely practiced this moment and knew that she was going to tell this story. And if you look at her now, there are no tears coming out of her eyes. This was completely set up and staged because Meghan failed to answer the question. And normally when you are beginning to cry, your eyes start to turn a little bit red. There's not a drop of redness in her eyes starting to form anywhere. And here we are, once again, Meghan is channeling left eye tear go. There's a pretty good chance that Meghan is not crying about those children, but probably something else, like the drying up of the money, or being the most despised woman on earth for now going on 4 years in a row. You can tell she's full of shit. She can't even look Jamie in the eye as she's putting on this performance. And let's quickly talk about Jamie Kern Lima for a second. This woman's a billionaire. Built an empire from the ground up, and her hard work and story is impressive. But yet she's here, reduced to fawning all over Meghan like a starstruck intern. Now, in my opinion, I thought that Jamie was just over the top, sugary, sweet, saccharine. Every question is a softball, and every response is met with gushing praise from Jamie. Meghan's not there for the hard questions. She's there for the ego stroking, and Jamie 100% delivered. If Jamie wasn't swimming in a pool of money, do you honestly think Meghan would give her the time of day? Part of me feels like Jamie somehow is an investor in this as ever whatever brand and is trying to help Meghan out here. Look, we know that Meghan uses people, always has and always will. She's not friends with Jamie because of some deep connection. She's friends with her because Jamie's wealth and platform are useful to her right now. It's purely transactional and, quite frankly, the grossest thing about Meghan. What sucks for Jamie is that she's allowed this viper into her life because even though she is a billionaire, she still has a lot of insecurity, particularly around her weight. Malignant narcissists like Meghan pick up on those vulnerabilities and will make people gain their trust with this so-called love bombing. And what we see in this podcast is Meghan doing exactly that.
And also, I'm thinking about one moment where I was having the worst day and I was so sad. And I remember you canceled a date night, came over, sat in the rocking chairs, and I was like, sorry, H. I was like, I was like crying. I had no makeup, so I had my bright red rosacea, and I was like, ah. And
I could just tell I was like, I don't think so. We have a date night. You're like, okay.
This witch knows how to prey on vulnerability. You betcha she canceled her date night with H to go over there to feed off of that misery. And now she probably has information on Jamie that she could use later on. And this is what makes these people so dangerous. You know that when Harry was head over heels for this witch, he probably told her all kinds of things, and now he can't really get out because she probably has so much dirt on him that she could take down not only him, but the whole institution. Here we are, Meghan, with this woman who completely let her guard down because Meghan, the snake that she is, probably made Jamie feel like she could really trust her. Does anybody believe that Meghan would just drop whatever she's doing for somebody if she didn't have something to get out of it? The only reason why Meghan is hanging around Jamie is because Jamie has money. Now, what we can all see from this broadcast is that Jamie is a very kind and compassionate person who is rooted and grounded in her Christian faith and values. And we all know that the devil doesn't like that, hence the reason why enter in this demon Meghan to be there to corrupt Jamie. We all have seen how anything that Meghan touches turns to shit. Watching this podcast and Jamie talk about her faith, you can tell Meghan doesn't like Christianity, and it explains so much as to why she did what she did to the late queen.
In my life, I have so many friends of all different faiths. I have friends that love everything. I have one of my friends who's the strongest Catholic I know, also sees every psychic, every meeting. Like, she's like, God made them too. We're going to cover our bases and all the things.
Well, that's funny because most people one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm so open. Like, I've had so many different people on the show. Obviously, I'm pretty open about my faith. And which, I believe in God. And, I wanted to ask you this also just in the beginning. I feel like why I'm so grateful this show is connecting with so many people is because it's just everyone needs connection. They want to feel connected and they want to feel seen.
To use the words you just
used, and they want to feel like less alone and more enough. And I asked Oprah this when she was on the show, why did you say yes? And she just paused and she said, I felt it was divinely ordered.
We all know that Oprah has questionable relationships that are tied to pedophiles. We also know that Hollywood is the capital of satanic ritual abuse involving little people that are not adults yet, that have been kidnapped or trafficked. Now, do I believe that Meghan is a part of that type of spiritual circle? Yeah, you bet I do. Meghan goes on in this podcast talking about this soul contract that she signed. And don't forget, Harry wrote in his book Spare that Meghan was on top of Diana's grave doing God knows what. Probably some black magic shit. Looking back, especially at this one particular photo of Meghan entering into the church, all I can see is nothing but evil emanating from it. And to some degree, that day, this ceremony, in a way, was a humiliation ritual for Meghan. The amount of lies and scheming that this woman had to do to get her to that point on that day. Meghan should have combusted when she walked into that church. Meghan, on that day, not only mocked God, but she mocked God in his own house, which is why I believe that this whole thing was a humiliation ritual. Are Meghan and Harry living a Christian life? No, they're not. Are they going to church with their children? No. Are they teaching their children Christian values? No. If you notice, Meghan and Harry never wish anybody a Merry Christmas or Happy Easter, nor do you ever hear about them going to any type of church. Sure, Meghan said that Lily was baptized in the backyard by some archbishop in California, but that too also can be a lie. Is she practicing and going to the house of God? Probably not. And seeing what Meghan and Harry have done to their own family, no, they are hardly Christian. I didn't mean to digress off of that, but back to this podcast, the whole authenticity angle of this podcast is such a farce. And that's what makes Meghan so infuriating. Meghan's been caught in so many lies. Her resume of exaggerations, her contradictory stories about her royal exit, her "nobody taught me how to do anything" nonsense. People don't just trust her because she's a liar. It's a fact. Her 10,000 rebrand as the so-called relatable mom, who's an entrepreneur and a founder with her jam and Netflix show, isn't fooling anyone with a functioning brain. This podcast was supposed to make us see her as real and authentic, but it just exposed her as the narcissist that we know her to be, who can't stop making it about herself. Every time Jamie tried to steer the conversation to something universal and relatable, like saying the challenges of entrepreneurship, Meghan hijacks it and talks about what she wants to talk about without fully answering the questions, like what we just saw about little Betty. And you would think that Meghan would have some type of canned response about little Betty, since we've seen this sudden obsession of Meghan trying to be Mom of the Year. I mean, for 5 years, Meghan barely mentioned Archie and little Betty. They were essentially ghosts, invisibles, never seen, rarely referenced, and conveniently absent from her endless public appearances. Now, all of a sudden, she's flooding us with stories about feeding koi with Archie and naming desserts after little Betty and the stupid school drop-offs. All we hear is about doing drop-offs. What about when they come home and spending time talking about what they learned for the day? Or not posting stupid, ridiculous photos of her with these faceless children that, for the most part, are clearly either photoshopped or AI generated. Like, the public is getting so sick of this game that Meghan is playing. But why the shift all of a sudden? Here's my theory. Meghan's public image has tanked, and she knows it. Her podcast is flopping. Her Netflix show got panned as a gormless lifestyle filler. She's desperate right now to humanize herself, and what's more relatable than motherhood? It's definitely a calculated pivot to make us forget the cold, ambitious, ruthless, vindictive operator we've seen the past 6 years. She is weaponizing those kids to soften her image, and it's manipulative as hell. Which brings me to the bigger picture. I've said many times over that this is a psyops. Harry and Meghan continue to play with the public, and this podcast is just one piece of a larger distraction. Their entire public presence, new Netflix shows, her lifestyle brand, these carefully curated family moments is a smokescreen. But what are they distracting us from? Theory number 1 could possibly be legal or financial trouble. There's been a lot of chatter about their Netflix deal being on shaky ground, which critics call their output pointless. Maybe, just maybe, they're flooding us with content to keep investors and the public from noticing their empire's cracks. Quite frankly, I think it's making it worse. Theory number 2 possibly has to do with something personal. We know that their marriage has been under tremendous amount of scrutiny with rumors of strain. All this perfect family content could be a way to squash those whispers. With theory number 3, I personally think these two are trying to bury their deep state involvement and lay low on the activities and effort to adhere to the Agenda 2030. Control of the online space is really their priority, and as she pushes this BS, you have seen in my previous video that they are full steam ahead with the using of the youth to push online regulations to curb speech. Meghan right now, from what I see, is erasing anything that doesn't align with the story they are purposely forcing everyone to focus on. It's not just vanity, it truly is about control. We should know by now that Meghan is curating another distraction, and she's betting we're all too dumb to notice. Notice the timing on everything. The sudden shift in interest in philanthropy with Archewell Fugazi Public Charity to build now a private business just as U.S. aid money dries up, and the change in the political climate, I don't think is an accident. And let's not ignore Harry's role in all of this. He's complicit too, whether he's a willing participant or just too spineless to push back. His silence during Meghan's endless self-promotion speaks volumes. Even though Meghan wants us to believe that Harry wrote this note, we know that Meghan is behind all of that. And we know that either Harry is enabling her or too checked out to care, and neither option at this moment makes him look good. Their whole, we're just a normal family like everybody else is like laughable when you consider the private jets, the Montecito mansion, the constant PR blitz. Normal families don't have AI-generated family photos, okay? And the worst part? We're supposed to buy this. We're supposed to clap like trained little seals while Meghan spins her latest fairy tale, daring to challenge the narrative, oh, you're such a hater, you're a deranger. I'm telling you, people are done. Like, I'm exhausted with the lies, the manipulation, the endless need for attention. And I almost wonder if this is why they do what they do and why Meghan is constantly pushed into our faces. Is it to exhaust us? I mean, does she want people who have witnessed this saga from the very beginning to just give up? Because there are people who are now coming into this, not knowing all the dirty tactics and maliciousness that were going on behind the scenes by these two. And, as exhausted as I feel, I know that I can't stop calling her out on her bullshit because I will not let these two win. They have contributed to the last 4 miserable years of damage to the world in this globalist agenda. They want all of us to shut up. And knowing that truly is what keeps me going. This so-called raw podcast wasn't a conversation. It was a propaganda piece, and Kern Lima should be embarrassed for letting herself be used like this. Meghan's not authentic. She's a flat-out narcissist who's allergic to any kind of accountability. Her tears, her stories, her relatable moments, come on, all fake. And the fact that she's using these invisible kids as props to sell these lies is disgusting. And I feel sad for the innocent if they do in fact exist. These 2 kids are going to need some serious therapy because a narcissistic parent will damage any sense of worth or self-esteem. And if what we are seeing in the small clips that Meghan shares is true, then they're destined to succumb to depression or suffer a mental illness. They are now more susceptible because of what Meghan is doing. And that's the cruel reality of Meghan Markle. The Queen was right when she called her evil. And if you had listened to that podcast and you're thinking, oh, maybe Meghan's changed, wake up. She hasn't. She's the same person who's been playing us for years, and this episode was just another chapter in her never-ending quest for adoration. I know we're all so damn sick of it, and I thank you for all being here. I wish we could say that the sooner we stop giving her the attention she craves, the better. But we can't because she's the one who is fueling it by constantly putting herself out into the public to create this controversy. Even if we did stop, we know that she would continue to do what she's doing to achieve this global adoration and worship. We're not talking about her as if she left the public eye and making up stories. It's her that's continuously pushing herself into the public space. A space where all of us should have the freedom to enjoy without this type of harassment. Talking about Meghan and Harry is pushing back to their attempts in trying to rewrite history. And that's something that we can't let happen. Anyway, this is all I had to say about this podcast. I mean, it was pretty painful to get through, and I am sure that there's other YouTubers who are covering it probably more in depth than I have. I can't stomach it. I just can't. And today, Meghan did her Confessions of a Flounder, and the guest was Kern Lima. I can only take so much. I can't listen to both of them. It's just way too much. But what I will do is leave you with this last clip that I think is important for people to see, because Meghan is a fantasist and a liar. Whatever story that she's telling, it's always designed to adapt to the narrative that she wants to push. And in this case, with this clip I'm about to show you, she wants people to really think that she is kind, compassionate, and thoughtful. She wants people to believe that she cares about something else other than herself. Watch this clip till the end.
I always check in with my 11-year-old self.
Yeah.
and how important it is to have people that you look up to and role models. I'll tell you,
Just a quick note here. I truly believe that Meghan has not matured past 11 years old mentally.
oh gosh, how silly. You'll think this is a very bizarre example, but when I was 13, my first job was at a frozen yogurt place called Humphrey Yogurt. Great name. And that was in the 90s. So what were the big shows and things that were on then? Baywatch.
Nice.
And so it was like Carmen Electra, Jenny, like all these people, Yasmin Bleeth. And I was taking the trash out from my job and I see Yasmin Bleeth. And I cannot believe I'm seeing Yasmin Bleeth and I'm holding this bag of trash. And I was like, the courage that it took for me to go up to her.
Yeah.
And I went up to her and I said, hi, I love you in this soft and dry deodorant commercial. That's all that could come out of my mouth. And she was so gracious. This was such a pivotal moment for me because I never knew I was going to become an actor or someone that people would go up to.
Yeah.
But this moment was so influential for me because she turned around and she goes, hi, sweetheart, what's your name? First thing I learned. I was like, I'm Meghan. And that moment, I was like, she cares to know what my name is. And then she's like, hi, I'm Yasmin. I know who she is, but she introduced herself. All those years later, no one teaches you how to be an actor once the show becomes successful.
Yeah.
No one teaches you what to do when people recognize you.
Yeah.
That moment with Yasmin Bleeth taught me how important it was for someone to make me feel seen and not brushed off. And she might have been asked 100 times that day for a picture or anything else. And it always stayed with me where I go, hi, what's your name? Good to meet you. I'm
You
Meghan.
always do that.
Yasmin Bleeth. Oh my God. I wrote Yasmin Bleeth. That's the only one I ever wrote. And then I saw her. I used to work at a frozen yogurt store in LA. It was my first job. It was called Humphrey Yogurt. And I saw her in the parking lot. And what do I say to her? The most ridiculous thing you could say. Oh my God, I love you so. I loved you in that soft and dry commercial.
The most important thing I put on is soft, smooth, and feels just like silk.
She just looked at me very blankly, like, okay, thank you. And I walked very meekly back into Humphrey Yogurt. Hi, sweetheart, what's your name? First thing I learned. I was like, I'm Meghan. And that moment, I was like, she cares to know what my name is. She just looked at me very blankly, like, okay, thank you. And I walked very meekly back into Humphrey Yogurt. Such a fraud.